Hello everyone, I'm Congressman Tim Walz. It's a real honor to be able to pay tribute to the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division and to your families and friends as you prepare to deploy in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired Command Sergeant Major, I'm especially proud of you.
Well, as they say, the internet's forever.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends.
What's going on, everybody? Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me show. That is Stillpoint, STIILPOINT, available on iTunes. They are the Don't Unfriend Me band. You can get the Don't Unfriend Me theme song if you want to. That's up to you. It's a heck of a good 1 minute and 10 seconds, folks. Timmy Walz, did he steal Valor? I want to preface the show. First of all, I have spent a lot of time doing these shows, and what I've heard is get to the point, get right to the point. We're not going to be able to do that today. This is going to take some time. There's a lot here to unpack. But I will tell you, as I went after Majewski in Ohio for his stolen Valor, which he did, he was a Republican, and I went after Blumenthal for his stolen Valor, and he's a Democrat who said he was in Vietnam when he didn't and should be retroactively dishonorably discharged and face the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the Rock and Shoals, for his lies. I've also defended the guy who wore the army jacket and spoke at the VFW, and I believe he didn't steal Valor. Now, am I the resident expert? No, go to Chief Shipley. If you don't know who Chief Shipley is, he's a retired UDT, U.S. Navy SEAL, who goes after people who steal Valor. That's the guy you want to go and listen to because he is the resident expert. So, did Walz steal Valor? Let's find out. It's going to be up to you to judge, because the only thing that I asked was two things last night on the live show. One was that civilians shut up when they don't know what they're talking about the military, and I'll give you an example. And two, let's not trash veterans to trash veterans. Let's focus on the things that they did. If they received an honorable discharge and then after their service they start embellishing, we need to call them out on that. It's important. But there are so many things about Tim Walz that you should be focused on outside of this, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. The first thing I want to talk about is what they're doing to J.D. Vance, and here is an example.
J.D. Vance as a messenger on this may be an imperfect messenger, because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat, which certainly the title combat correspondent kind of gives you a different impression. So he may be the imperfect messenger on that.
No, that is your stupid brain working, lady, and you don't know what the f*** you're talking about. I pardon my French. I'm sorry, but once again, here it is. Civilians opening their mouth when they don't know what they're talking about. SEALs. They're not a bunch of brown skin with little teeth with big whiskers and flippers running around and actually bathing themselves on piers all across the coasts. No, they are a special forces unit, and it's an acronym. And intelligence specialists aren't always intelligent. Careful. And BB stackers, ordnance men, they don't sit around stacking BBs. You see, there's names for people in the military. There's their official title, and then there's actually what they do. And he most assuredly was a combat correspondent, as he actually deployed into Iraq. It's pretty simple. Now, when it comes to Tim Walz, did he actually deploy into Afghanistan and Iraq? No, not in any way, shape, or form. In fact, he was thousands of miles away from both. And we will go into that right now, because that's what we do here, folks. I hope you enjoy it. Tim Walz, the current governor of Minnesota, if you've been sleeping under a rock, he's a vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket alongside Kamala Harris. He's faced significant scrutiny regarding his military service. Republicans have raised concerns about whether Walz has exaggerated his military record, particularly regarding his rank, his participation in combat, and his retirement. We're going to go over all of it. I'm going to give you the timeline. I'm going to break it down from start to finish in just a few seconds. These accusations have become a focal point in the political discourse surrounding the 2024 election, especially when contrasted with his broader political beliefs and actions. Let's talk about the timeline of events from start to finish. April 1981. Tim Walz enlisted in the Nebraska Army National Guard just 2 days after his 17th birthday. This began his military career as an infantryman, completing a 12-week basic training course. A lot of people think when you're in the reserves or the Guard that you don't go to a full basic training. You actually do. It's a requirement. You have to do the regular Army basic training because there is no reserve or National Guard type basic training. 1985, while attending the University of Houston, Walz was reclassified as a field artillery cannoneer. He transitioned to the Texas Army National Guard and later served as an instructor with the Arkansas Army National Guard. 1987, Walz returned to the Nebraska Army National Guard, continuing his service in field artillery and the assignments within while completing his college education. 1996, we're starting to get into my time of service. A couple years before that, Walz transferred to the Minnesota Army National Guard, where he would continue his military career and later serve in leadership. September 18th, 2001, following the September 11th attack. Now, this is important for you to remember. Put this down in the old brain box for later. Walz re-enlisted in the Minnesota Army National Guard for 6 years. 6 years. Reflecting his commitment to serve during a time of national crisis. Not 4, 6. Early 2003, Walz was selected to attend the U.S. Army Sergeant Major's Academy, a program for senior non-coms, or NCOs, non-commissioned officers. Everyone gets the drift. The academy required 2 years of coursework and a 2-week resident phase at Fort Bliss, Texas. Go Texas. Walz agreed to complete the program and serve for at least 2 years after graduation or promotion. Now, this is a common thing in the military, especially in the National Guard or the reserves. And the reason why is they are the farm team, and you don't necessarily have a bench. So sometimes people are promoted into a position following that they go ahead and complete certain courses. This is important to understand. Regular Army has a much larger bench and usually has a group of people who are in line for the next seat at the table. Late summer 2003, Walz deployed with the 1st 125th Field Artillery Battalion to Italy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. His mission involved augmenting U.S. Air Force Europe security forces in base security for a total of 6 months. Despite supporting operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, he was not stationed in Iraq or Afghanistan, and he was far, far away from combat zones. August 5th, 2004, Walz participated in anti-war protests outside a rally for President George W. Bush. This is important to know and understand. And the reason why is that whether you're an NCO, a high-ranked NCO, a command NCO, or an officer or battalion commander, whatever it would be, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, Space Force, and anyone that I forgot, I said Marine, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. I know I'm forgetting one somewhere, I'm sure. I don't think I am. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force. I think I got them all. He participated in this anti-rally and held a sign, as you can see in this picture here. And the sign read, Operation Enduring Freedom Veteran for Kerry. It's interesting. His own little swift boat's going on. If you don't know, look up the reference. It talks about his service in Afghanistan. Critics argue that this sign misleadingly suggested Walz had served in combat in Afghanistan, which he had not. September 17, 2004, Walz was conditionally promoted to Command Sergeant Major, as I said, one of the highest enlisted ranks. However, this promotion was contingent upon his completion of the coursework at the Sergeant Major's Academy. Early 2005, the 125th Field Artillery Battalion received a warning order. Now, this is a major discrepancy. Part 2. When was the order? Did he know about it before he retired? Was it after? What happened? Well, I've got some evidence and facts to back it up. Let me finish this first, and then we can go into that. They received the warning order that they were going to deploy to Iraq. As his unit prepared for deployment, Walz made his controversial decision to retire from the National Guard on May 16, 2005. Why is May 16th important? Well, what we're hearing is, well, the order didn't come out till June. That is correct. The official order did not come out till June, but I have acquired something that you might find interesting, which is on his page, a press release, which is Tim Walz's page, so he can't deny, well, we didn't know. Well, it's your page, bucko. He acknowledges. And it says on Thursday, March 17th, the National Guard Public Affairs Office announced a possible partial mobilization of roughly 2,000 troops from the Minnesota National Guard. 1st District congressional candidate Tim Walz currently holds the rank of Command Sergeant Major in the 125th Battalion. Now, if you think as a Command Sergeant Major acting that you are not going to be deployed with your division, with your unit, with your battalion, you're insane. Everybody knows he was going to get called up. He knew, and this leads you to believe what the decision was, we don't know, but he was informed that he was going to deploy, and decided to go ahead and retire at the point. This is the smoking gun that really confirms this, and everyone should now go ahead and put this to rest because I've proven it to you. I try to do this often. I hope you find it valuable. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave this up for a quick second, and then we're going to go into the rest of this timeline before we get into some of the other facts. Now, September 10th, 2005, Walz's conditional promotion to Command Sergeant Major was revoked due to his failure to complete the required coursework. He was officially reduced in rank to Master Sergeant, the rank at which he would receive his retirement benefits. Now, when you're in the service, if you decide to go ahead and go on a drinking spree and you get a 30-day and 30-day no pay, 30-day confined to quarters, and you're reduced in rank from E5 to E4, your highest completed rank is an E5. This isn't like a marathon. This isn't Boy Scouts. You were reduced, so therefore you are officially an E4 until you are put back into the E5 rank, or you qualify, or you meet the demands of why you were demoted in the first place. So for him to sit here and say, I'm an E9, he knows damn well he wasn't an E9. He was using it for political clout. We would assume. November 2006, Walz was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. You saw the video that I put on. And during his campaign, he claimed to be the highest-ranking enlisted service member ever to serve in Congress, referencing his time as a Command Sergeant Major despite the rank reduction. And this is not true or factual based upon the reduction, and therefore that would not be accurate. The controversies and accusations and the rank discrepancy are extremely important. I'm going to clarify again so we are not lost on what the points are. The core of the controversy lies in Walz's rank at the time of his retirement. While he was promoted to Command Sergeant Major, he did not complete the necessary requirements to maintain his rank. As a result, he was officially reduced to Master Sergeant after his retirement, E8. Critics argue that Walz misrepresented his rank, continuing to refer to himself as a retired Command Sergeant Major even after the rank reduction, which would be E9. Now, there's also claims of his combat service. During a 2018 campaign event, Walz stated, "We can make sure that those weapons of war," no combat veteran is ever going to say a weapon of war about an AR-15, "that I carried in war are only carried in war." This comment implied that Walz had served in a combat zone, which contradicts his actual deployment history in Italy. He later clarified that he did not carry weapons in a combat zone, but the initial statement has fueled accusations of exaggeration. It doesn't fuel it, it's actually true. Here's the video clip.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, "Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in..."
No child ever goes to their father and says, "Mother, father, please establish this republic and the elected representative democracy that we have. Stop the oligarchs and the autocracy from taking place, the overall spending against the budget. I'm simply 4 years old and I want to talk about twiddlywinks and eat my macaroni and cheese with a knife and a spork. Please, father, do something about this. Only you can save us. Your only hope, Walzy 1. Come on. Oh, God. Obi-Wan Draft Dodgy, please take care of us. Give me a break.
The Army, and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Yeah, sounds like a commie to me. I know I said I'd be unbiased, but this guy, his policies, the timing of his retirement, let's get into it. You saw the video. We're going to wrap this up here. I know we're a little long in the tooth. Walz's decision to retire in May 2005, just months before his unit's deployment to Iraq, has led to accusations that he timed his departure to avoid combat. Well, remember, 2001 would have been a good time to get out. We all knew we were going to war. But once again, I'm not here to tell you what was in his mind. I don't know, but I can just tell you the way the timeline adds up. It seems a little fishy. While Walz has consistently denied these accusations and claims, Republicans, including Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance, have labeled his decision as stolen valor garbage, suggesting that Walz abandoned his unit at a critical time. Now, I know Walz doesn't like his service to be questioned, but I do believe he has a right to go ahead and call these things out as long as he answers his own service, which he's done. And he's actually sat in front of the press and addressed these concerns and put them to bed. Walz has done no such thing. The misleading statements, Walz's participation in the 2004 anti-war protests, and his use of the Operation Enduring Freedom veteran label have been particularly controversial. Critics argue that Walz's actions and his statements were intended to create the impression that he had served in Afghanistan or Iraq, despite being stationed in Italy thousands of miles away. This has led to accusations that he deliberately misled the public about the nature of his service, and whether it's Afghanistan or Iraq, both are a shit ton away from Italy. Broader political implications. Tim Walz is not just a military veteran. He's a prominent political figure with a long career in public service. However, his political beliefs and actions have also come under scrutiny from this channel as well. Walz is a self-identified socialist who supports policies such as late-term abortion, the Green New Deal, and gender realignment surgery. He's been criticized for his handling of the unrest in Minnesota during his tenure as governor, with some accusing him of allowing the state to burn. I'm one of them. These broader political concerns raise the question, are the accusations about his military service the most important issue, or are they distracting from more pressing matters? I covered this in 2020. I covered it in 2018 on my own public feed. I understand these accusations. I've heard them before. But a lot of the things, him visiting China 30 times, him adopting Maoist principles, these are not being talked about, and they need to be. While the controversies surrounding Walz's military record are significant, they may overshadow larger debates about his policy positions and leadership style. The bigger picture is ideology over service. Tim Walz's political ideology is a controversial thing, and it's as controversial as his military record if we let it. These ideological positions have a far-reaching implication for the future of the country, and while the controversies surrounding his military service are undoubtedly relevant, they pale in comparison to the broader impact of his political beliefs and the detriment these policies would have that he advocates for the United States. Tim Walz's military service is marked by significant achievements. I'm not going to say they're not. It included a long career in the National Guard and a rise to high-ranking positions. However, the controversies surrounding his rank, the timing of his retirement, his participation in anti-war protests, and his statements about combat service have become focal points in the political debate. Yet, as the 2024 election unfolds, we must ask ourselves, are we focusing on the right issues? Walz's political ideology, his support for socialist policies, and all the things that I have listed may have far greater implications for the future of our country than the discrepancy in his military record. Now, let's face it, I'm sure Command saw that he was protesting war and gave him the door. That's probably something you're not going to go ahead and see in a service jacket. As a rank of an E9, the military can get embarrassed by their choices too and like to sweep things under the rug. Ask anyone who has a service jacket who questions some of their meritorious advancements or their ribbons that aren't included or the qualifications from the VA or their separation rate. These things are discrepancies that happen that we have to go back and fight the U.S. government to get. There are times that the government likes to sweep it under the rug. Yes, his military service should be scrutinized, and it should factor into the decision to repudiate his vice presidential candidacy alongside Kamala Harris. But in the grand scheme of things, are we merely engaging in glorified service jacket measuring between Vance and Walz, while more critical issues are being overlooked? I'm not a big fan of the service jacket dick measuring, and most people who served aren't. The narrative of Tim Walz's service and subsequent political career is indeed complex, and voters will need to weigh all aspects of his record as they make their decision in the upcoming election. The truth is, Walz was 1,400 miles from Baghdad and 2,300 miles from Afghanistan in Italy. As much as his military service is part of his story, so too are his political beliefs, and those beliefs will likely have more profound impact on the direction of the nation versus what he has said in some videos. Folks, that is my opinion. I hope you appreciate it, but opinion based on fact. I ask that you leave some comments if you have questions or want to add to this. Either way, I'm not a fan of Walz. I never will be, and I think ultimately we should choose anything but Kamala and Walz. As I have on my page, it is knee pads and tampons 2024. Or was it man-pons? I think that's what it was. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. We will see you next time. God bless. And please remember, take care of each other and always seek out the truth. It is the most important thing and weapon we have against the U.S. government and the lies and the media that they tell. Thank you.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at the DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.